Hi guys, and welcome back to World of Tanks, and it's another episode in the Hidden Gems series. I've also seen the sort of suggestions that you guys have had in the comments of the last one as well, so I'll be looking into a few of those. And one or two of you said that they hope that I do more of these because they've actually ended up getting the KV-13 and sort of going through it and grinding it out, and are really enjoying it. So here we are. And again, you don't have to agree with me on this. I'm sure there's going to be plenty of you that don't agree with me on this, but some of these tanks, these are the ones that I think Hidden Gems, and that's why I asked for the ones that you think are as well. And even though some of these tanks are going to have bad features, they also have good features as well. And they're just ones that seem to sort of get passed by for whatever reason. Now, so in this episode, we're going to be looking at the Churchill Gun Carrier, which is a tier 6 British TD, but it sits very awkwardly in the tech tree, a bit like the KV-13 did. But instead of that just leading to other tier 7s, this does lead on. But like I say, it's a TD. It leads into the AT TD line, but it comes off the heavy tank line, which is a bit of an odd one, really. But it does kind of make sense in a way because it is based off the Churchill. I don't know if it's a 3 or a 7. It's sort of basically the hull might be modelled after one of the other ones. I don't know if they did. I'm assuming they did 7 of them, unless it was just one of those odd things where they just gave it a random number. But anyway, here it is in the tech tree, and again, a lot of people sort of pass it by, but you get to it by going through the Churchill 1. It then leads up into the Churchill Gun Carrier at tier 6, which then leads into the AT7 at tier 7. Now, you see, the other thing with it is, a lot of people miss it because they're either going down the heavy line to go down the heavy line, or they're going down one of the TD lines. But you see, the thing is with the British TDs, especially at the lower levels, up until you really get up to sort of tier 8 with this sort of line, and probably even tier 9 with this one. I suppose even a little bit at that compared to some of the other nations, but basically up until this sort of point, and especially tier 5, tier 6, same with these two as well, you've basically got low alpha damage, high rate of fire guns on these TDs, and not everybody likes that. Some of the other nations have obviously got high alpha, low rate of fire, and some people prefer that on the TDs because it means they might get a shot off at somebody as they're coming past, and if they hit them, they're going to do a fair whack of damage. Whereas with the sort of low alpha, high rate of fire guns, you've basically got to keep it firing to get the damage done, and to get your XP and silver in, and that's the case with this one. You've basically got your heavily armoured, slow moving, low alpha, high rate of fire, and then down here you've got your quicker, more lightly armoured, but again, low alpha damage, high rate of fire. And some of you might think the Archer's not quick. Well, actually, with the Archer, it's a bit of a tricky one. You drive it backwards. So if you drive it forwards, it's very, very slow, about 12 or 13 kilometers an hour. You drive it backwards, and it goes about 30-something kilometers an hour, I think it is. So you basically drive it backwards when you're trying to get around, and, just forwards when there's enemies about, that sort of thing. But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about the gun gun carrier, sorry. Now, like I say, with these, you've got the 17-pounder, so 171 pen, 13.95 rounds a minute, so 14 rounds a minute, 150 damage. So, like I said before, the sort of low pen, high damage. Sorry, low alpha, high rate of fire. But the alternative at tier 6, and this skips out 2 of the ATs, is the gun carrier, which, when fully upgraded, gets a 32-pounder. So it's an ordnance quickfire 32-pounder, 7.06 rounds a minute, 214 pen, 250 damage, 246 on your premium rounds, and 47,330 for your HE. And then you've got a 2.1 second aiming time, which isn't too savage at all, and 0.34 accuracy, which again is not really too savage. So if you did want to go through this line, but you didn't fancy the sort of really slow-moving AT, it's not much faster, but it is a bit faster, you have got another option. And like I say, you will basically skip out all of these and can go straight in at the AT7. So it is a bit of an alternative, like I say, at tier 6, if you want something with a bit more oomph for each shot. So it is, like I say, it is in there. But yeah, I mean, there's not a great deal to say about it. Like I say, it's based on the Churchill tank, so you pretty much know what you're going to get. Whereas the Churchill 7, though, at tier 6, only does 20 kilometers now. This does do 26, so it has got a slightly higher top speed. I don't really think there's much else. I'm not going to go into it too much with the modules and everything, so I'm really just highlighting it as a fully upgraded vehicle. I mean, it's not even too savage down here, really. You get 151, 230, 8.5 rounds a minute, and stock, you've basically got 3-inch anti-tank guns, so 15 rounds a minute, 112 pen, 140 damage, but good aiming time and decent accuracy. So, you know, it's not even particularly savage as you're getting upgraded, and even your engine, you only get an extra 50 horsepower, so, you know, it's not a savage grind through this, or I don't remember it being, but this was one of the earliest grinds I actually did in the game, so it's going back a while, but I don't remember it being particularly bad, because the guns on it aren't overly savage, like I say. What else are we looking at? Like I say, you know, they do have the downsides as well, but we've covered that. Your traverse isn't great, 24 degrees a second, but like I say, it's based on Churchill. Gun traverse, well, it doesn't really sort of factor in. View range 340, you know, average for your sort of tier 6 TDs. Signal range 550 does seem a little on the low side, but I'm, you know, not too sure. But I mean, the main drawbacks with this one are its speed. That's it, basically, its speed. That's sort of the main drawback of it. I mean, supplies wise, not too expensive, I suppose. 630 for your standard, 4,400 for your APCR, which are your premiums, 250 for your HE. And have I been swapping guns about? No, I haven't. No, it's alright. Consumables, I've just been boring. I don't know if I'll be keeping this one at the moment. I've bought it back for this, so I don't know if I'll be keeping hold of it, so that's why I've just got a single sort of skill crew in here. Now, equipment wise, I would definitely say gun lane drive, and you've got a few options for the next few. Now, one of its downsides is it doesn't have a particularly good gun arc at the front, so I wouldn't bother with binocular telescope because you will spend a lot of your time moving your hull. You know, unless you sat really sort of further back. If you want optics on it, I'd possibly say coated optics would be better, alongside obviously situational awareness as a skill. But you could go for the gun rammer instead. You could go for, you know, obviously, like I say, you want the gun lane drive. You could go for coated optics and vents, gun rammer and vents, like I have here, gun rammer and coated optics, or something else as well, which is a consideration on this. Is a spore liner. Or is it super heavy on here? Let's have a look. Large spore liner. Basically, you get plus 30% protection from ramming and explosions, and plus 30% chance to protect crew from critical damage. Now, explosions means HE. HE means RT. So it will give you a little bit more protection from RT because they do like to punish you in these. So, you know, that is something to look at. Skills-wise, you probably want to be heading for something like that. Situational awareness, brothers in arms, camouflage, repairs, definitely. Muffled shot, not so much. You can do, I suppose, if you want, but that's probably what you want to be aiming for. I've got eagle eye on there, you don't really need it, but brothers in arms, sixth sense, camo, situational awareness, and repairs, and also clutch braking to get your traverse up a little bit as well, which will be helpful. What else is there? Well, let's have a look at the modules. Like I say, 350 horsepower engine, not a great power to weight ratio, you know, like I say, based on a Churchill, 8.56, which is pretty poor. Well, just a shy of 26 kilometers an hour, technically. 12 in reverse and 20% chance of firing. It's a big old engine, the same as it is in the Churchill. One of the other nice things about this, though, is it's minus 10 degrees of gun depression. You only get 15 of elevation, which can be an issue occasionally, but it does get good gun depression at minus 10, so it is good on the ridge lines. And also that just angles your big flat boxy front, which is, again, another bit of an issue. Terrain resistances aren't great, 1.2, 2.3, again very similar to the Churchill, and your ammunition blocks, big old ammunition blocks down in the centre of the hull, basically through the tracks at the back of the upper superstructure there. Oh, shell velocity as well, 878 for your standard, 1098 for APCR, so they do travel quite quick, your APCR. It's not got great concealment either, this as well, don't forget. It is quite big, so 0.27 stationary, 0.16 on the move. And you've got 650 hit points as well. crew members, they're all basically just sat in the box. You've got the driver just down on the hull. There's no hull machine gunner. And then you've got your gunner, loader and commander just stood up in the upper superstructure there. Now, armour-wise, not too shabby. 152 on the front. I think it's 95 on the sides. Yep, 95 on the side, 51 on the rear. However, like I said before, very, very flat on the front. So if you're using your gun depression, it puts a bit of an angle to it. But otherwise, you know, at range, when you're top tier and stuff, you can bounce a lot of shots in this. When you're not top tier, stay back, play it more like a traditional TD. Don't rely on your armour at all. But like I say, when you are top tier, there's a few things that will bounce off this actually. There are quite a few. One of the weaker spots though is just around the gun. As you can see there, though it is thinner than the rest. That's your 152. That bit is a bit thinner. So if you're trying to get through one of these, that circle either side of the gun, which is not really a mantle, more of just a mounting almost. But yeah, that's one of the weaker spots on the front if you are struggling. But again, I'm not going to go too much into the armour detail, but it is, like I say, very much like a Churchill. Is that a weak spot in the side? Yeah, so that box on the side, there is a hole through it, as you can see there, so that might be an option. And also there's that hatch on the side as well. However, the ammo is basically in between that if you're wanting to sort of hit the ammo rack. There is one bit that says it's 225. Yeah, don't count on that. It's basically a very well armoured split pin. Somewhere in there, you see that tiny little dot in there, that sort of red slither? Yeah, there you go, that's your 225. But other than that, I mean, the armour, like I say, is not too savage. You don't want to get too close, though, even when you are top tier, so that anything can get around you. But, you know, 150, 200 metres, you should be alright when you're top tier, and you can probably bounce a few, but it's just sort of getting used to what you can and can't bounce. Anyway, I've gone on long enough about it in the garage. I've got a couple of games for you to have a look at, so we'll get into those and see how it actually plays. Like I say, it does have the downsides. One is obviously its speed and its hull traverse. The armour, although thick, is fairly flat on the front, so something, again, you sort of get used to how to play it. You know, you can be fairly aggressive in top tier, like I say. When you're bottom tier, stay back a bit more. But it's got enough oomph for when you're in the tier 8 matches, which is nice. It's got quite a bit of punch to it, and your penetration's quite nice for when you're in the bottom tier. You know, when you're in tier 8 matches. But yeah, it's basically the other main one is the sort of limited gun traverse at the front, and that's basically down to your tracks, I would say. But anyway, let's get into the replays now. Right, so here we are for the first of the replays, and both of the replays are actually tier 6 matches, and just in the middle of them there's actually the results from a tier 8 match that I was in. It just wasn't, I don't know, it just wasn't very interesting. It was alright, it was, you know, a decent enough match. I think it came top, but then again, nobody on the team did particularly well. And you know, there's only so much you can do when you're in tier 6 in a tier 8 match. And but yeah, you know, it was a fairly decent match. Like I say, you know, I did all right out of it, not too savage. The team didn't spread particularly well, and then the ones that did, they just sort of got, you know, ridden over a little bit. So I've just basically used the results screen. Like I say, it just wasn't particularly interesting. But anyway, here we are, tier 6 match, like I said, and on Pacific Island. Now, I do kind of like, you see, you know the new full colour map? I would prefer, if we had an option, to go back to the original as well, because it's not on this one, but some of the maps, the greener ones, yeah, I have real trouble telling the different shades apart from one another, so sometimes I have trouble sort of seeing which are the higher and lower bits, etc. But yeah, just, I don't know, maybe I have the option to put it back to normal. Now, this is one of those weird matches where, I don't know, not a great deal happens. Now, you know, I was hoping that I was going to have a bit more support coming down this way. I was hoping that medium and the heavy might come down here, and in fact, it looks like the medium is now. And the heavy does join us. You know, he does come a bit further down soon, and just managed to get a hit on him.
Looks like that one went right through.
like I say, I mean, like I said in the garage with the equipment, I wouldn't recommend binoculars on this just because the actual movement arc of the gun is so limited on the front. You spend that much time moving your hull. They hardly ever set up basically. So if you're going to put some sort of optics on it, I'd go for coated optics and then try and boost it with situational awareness as well. And just while I'm looking for a bit of trouble, no video yesterday, no random destruction, and basically my wife's mother, my mother-in-law, has been taken into hospital again over the weekend, so been a bit hectic. Bit of a hectic weekend. It's not life-threatening or anything, but it's yeah, she's still in there. So yeah, just a bit of a, like I say, busy weekend. Now managing to make our way quite nicely down this side of the island. I was expecting a bit more resistance coming the other way. There's a KV-85. If he's got that 122mm gun, he could definitely pen the front of me. He's got 175 pen, and even though the accuracy isn't bad on this, 0.34 I think I said, it can still troll you every now and again. But that one finally connected. Move back a bit, take a bounce from the OI experimental. Miss the KV-85 again, and decide to go back for the experimental, but just track him, and then it looks like he's possibly swapped to HE there. He may have done. I think that was not a lot of damage for a pen, and here comes the KV-85, put a nice hit through him and track him, and I'm just trying to keep a bit of distance so he can't get around me, and I just flick the hull to the side at the wrong moment. You don't really get any movement at all to the left on the gun. Again, one of the slight downsides, but I do manage to take him down. And like I say, it's just one of those odd matches. Not really many came this way, and this does suffer from the same thing as a lot of these slow movers, like the ATs, the other Churchills, in the fact that if you go the wrong way at the beginning of the match, it can cost you sort of, for damage and XP. And the other thing is that sometimes, when you've got like an efficient team, the fight can get away from you. You just can't keep up with the fight, and it can sort of get away from you. So again, like I say, I'm not saying this is outstanding, but it's got nice features. It's got some downsides, but I just thought I'd highlight it because a lot of people miss it. And if I can just clip his arse, yep, there we go. Wasn't much to shoot at, but I managed to hit him, and that's the match. So again, like I said before, nothing outstanding, just a nice average match in it really. 1700 damage, high caliber, second class mastery, 300 blocked. Well, not bad, 50,000. Silver, I think I did get, 25% extra though from that, so not quite all that. And it put me second. The T-34-85 came top with a little bit, is that a little bit more, a little bit less damage, but we probably got some assisted as well. And yeah, like I say, not too savage. But just a nice average match really. Managed to take down stuff came up against, didn't really take much damage. There you go. Anyway, these results, these are the ones from the tier 8 match where nobody, sort of the team, didn't do particularly well. Did just over, literally a shade over 2,000 damage. And I think, yeah, I did end up at the top of the table, and that was a tier 8 match. The enemy team, they did have a better game, and yeah, they just sort of rode over some of the guys that went to the corner on Al Haloof, I think it was. But a lot of the team didn't go that way. Some of the higher tiers as well, if I remember rightly. But I just thought to include that one just to show you, that it can be alright in tier 8 matches as well. Now here we are for the last of the replays, or the second replay, but it's still the last one. Another tier 6 match, and it's on Airfield. And wasn't quite sure where to go at the beginning. Just keeping an eye out on basically where the enemy team are going, and I'd make my decision from there. But what I do decide because it doesn't look like as many people are going towards the middle. I'm going to come up here. I know I'm top tier, but there's no point getting in close up where I can get surrounded, you know, this early in the game. In fact, you know, never get that close. Like I say, when you are top tier, you can play fairly aggressively. Just don't get to a point where they can just get around you. But I'm going to go up here and see if anything comes up onto that hill in the middle, or tries to come around the bottom end of it on the south. And if they do, hopefully I can pick them off. I'll be far enough away that even though it's the flat armour, depending on what it is, there's a good chance I'll be able to bounce from it. Tier 4s and 5s, I don't know if there were tier 4s in there, I think there might have been, but tier 5s, some of those, definitely a couple hundred metres, I should be able to bounce a few. Let's have a look. Alright, what we've got an AC4 up there. Can I get him before he disappears? Yep. Nice solid hit. Slightly low, I think. Like I say, this doesn't... well, this is the 32 pounder. The 20 pounders get 240, like the 90mm, etc. This gets 250. But with that 214 pen, and there was something about 246, I think, on your premium. You know, like I say, the gun can more than handle tier 8 matches. You've definitely got enough pen for most of the tier 8s you'll come up against, if not all of them, to be honest. But the team, I don't know if it was the spread or whether it's just the enemy team are making more of a concerted push through those hills up there. But they really are making a push through, and I was going to go further down to the hill in the middle, but I'm just waiting around here to see if I can shoot anything. And unfortunately that one dropped a bit, but I can still see him. Hopefully reload in time. And it just it went somewhere. Not sure where. Can I hit him? Yay, managed to hit him. Got him that time. And yeah, not going to get the kill on him though. Now, where are we? Just keeping an eye out. See, down over near the enemy camp there's a light tank. He's there, and that heavy a bit further up, but a lot of the enemy team are still pushing towards the middle. So my plan is to try and get back up into cap, and hopefully I can cover then this direction, you know, from one side of cap, or just sort of flick around, well, I'll say flick around, trundle round to the other side to try and take care of the sort of northern end. But there's a medium coming through the middle. I've been spotted. There is an RT, so I've got to be careful. He's done. And like I say, RT do like to go at these. A big engine deck, big flat top to that upper superstructure as well. So that's why, you know, I suggested that maybe drop one of your pieces of equipment for it, or put a spall liner on it. Not so much drop one, but put a spall liner on. And there's a chaffee up there. He's bouncing though, which is nice, and just managed to finish him off. I don't know if somebody else put a hit in there as well. Maybe not. It might have just been a close one now. It's not looking too good. It's 5-10 in the enemy team's favour. I've spun it around in the middle again. I was going to go back up into camp, but there's a Cromwell over here. And, oh, didn't go for the tracking shot, but that's nice that I did. I'm going to get some assisted from it. He's penned. And I thought I'd kill him then. And I expected to take another hit, but he bounced that time. So that was a bit odd. But like I say, with these you want to go for just around the gun within that circle. That's where it is a bit thinner. And if I can just get back up into cap, still trying. Nope, Hellcat behind me now. We've evened it back a little bit, although they've just pulled one back. It's now 7-11 in the enemy team's favour. And I was just backing away from that Hellcat. He's disappeared, I have, and this is where I've got to risk it. I'm pretty sure that he was waiting to drop off radar and then to pop back out and put one into me. And yeah, didn't get up there in time. Got to fix my engine and get some cover in between me and the Hellcat, because the rest of the enemy team, or a good chunk of them, are now forcing their way into cap. There's me, there's this TD on the left, and he's taking a bit of punishment. and I'm going straight for it, straight through the buildings, hopefully I can get through and save that TD. We've also got a medium. He's just down in the valley there. And nope, I'm tracked by the Excelsior, and nope, can't get my gun that way. Just move forwards. Thank you very much for obliging. And then the Gup, which I think he might have been turned up with, but I'm not sure. Well, he just decided to ignore me. I think he was assuming that the Excelsior would be able to deal with me, but I dealt with him. Managed to just take the Gup out, unfortunately not before I was on my own, and just couldn't quite get the trigger pull off and get it round to take down the T1 Heavy. I don't think I would have managed to take down the others with what little health I was on, but it would have been nice to take out the T1 Heavy as well. But there you go, another high caliber. 1,917 damage, another second class mastery. So, you know, people seem to be doing alright in the gun carriage, the ones that do have them. It does seem to be hard to get a sort of a higher one than 2 at the moment. But anyway, there you go. The Churchill Gun Carrier, another one of what I think is a little hidden gem. So maybe, you know, maybe it takes your fancy, you think, oh, I'm going to have a go at that. But anyway, let me know how you get on, and I'll be back tomorrow with another video. So I hope you've enjoyed that. And until then, take care out there, and I'll catch you next time. See you later.